Well, Rob, we've been on. We'll be 5 years. What, September 17th?
September 18th.
We'll be complete 4 years.
Yep.
Start our 5th year. 10 more years. When are you going to retire? About 10 years? Is that?
Yeah, less than 10.
What do you think? Less. Would you want to do this? We could do this for the rest of your career.
Yeah, there's a good chance that we might. Yeah, there's a good chance that we might. The show is fun. I appreciate like everybody we work with. I really do. I've had radio shows before. I worked with Brandon Tierney before at ESPN in New York, Chris. He was my partner.
It was called The Odd Couple.
No, it wasn't. It was not. No, it was not. No, it was not.
You have done an Odd Couple before.
Well, that was with Mike Stone in Detroit.
You really know how to make a guy feel special.
No, I'm trying to tell you that I had other partners, Brandon Tierney, I had Michael Stone, I had Mark Wilson, the man, in Detroit as well. I've had other partners, but this show is the creme de la creme of what I've ever done on radio. I'm just being honest.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And those guys were great. I worked with Mark for 10 years in Detroit.
But they weren't Chris Broussard.
And this show has evolved, and I'm very happy to be here, and we're in a good place, and we'll continue. I think at some point. Yeah.
And I don't know if people know the story, Rob, quickly, of how we came together. I mean, we've known each other for 30 years. 30.
Right.
And we met 92 at the Detroit
You're right.
NABJ, so 30 years. And I had you, when we both first went to FS1, I had a podcast, In the Zone, had you on as a guest. Went well. I mean, I thought, it was good. I didn't think, oh, my gosh, this is, stars and lightning and everything, right? It wasn't that, but it was good. And so people from Fox Sports Radio called us, Don Martin to be specific. Don Martin, the great Don Martin.
Right.
And was like, guys, you got something. Like, he saw it. I got to credit Don Martin, and then, as you said,
Scott Shapiro was on board as well.
Right.
But I agree with you.
They saw what we didn't see. Again, we didn't. I knew if we did it, we could do it. It never crossed my mind, though, Rob.
No, it didn't, because we had separate shows, and we were just doing kind of, one weekend show, and it was cool and whatnot. And I had, unlike you had never had a full-time radio show. Right. I've had full-time radio shows.
Right.
So, I mean, it was like, okay, this is cool for right now. You know what I mean? I wasn't, thinking on those terms.
Right.
And then when they pitched the idea, and Don was emphatic about it, Chris, right? I mean, he wasn't lukewarm or whatever, and he was like, you guys.
No, he was definitely, he saw it. He definitely saw it, and we have to give him major credit. And remember also, Rob, the question was, are we going to do a local show that's in LA? So it would have been an LA-centric show. Or national,
because there were two. There was another option.
National.
Right. It seemed like we had another option of being an LA show. Right.
Yep. And I'm glad we did national. Obviously, I mean, now I'm in New Jersey, so the LA show would have been tough. But it's just, I think national is better for us for sure.
Yeah. And I think we kind of agreed. The other thing too is we didn't want to, and I give you credit, Rob G credit on this, because we did make a conscious effort not to sound like all the other shows. I mean, we really, am I right? We really did, we're not going to just do a topic just to do a topic. We're not, no matter what. We don't want to do that. We want to let, Rob G brought it up a minute ago, we want callers to have ownership, listeners to have ownership of the show, Chris.
Right.
Right? So they don't want to hear me and you talk for 3 hours. That's just, we didn't think that's the best way to do a radio show.
Well, we give them a segment per hour, and that's rare for national radio shows now.
Yep.
There are a handful, but most national shows are just, the host talking, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
No. But we didn't want to do that.
Sometimes when you're gone, we just do that.
Yeah.
But we love having the guests too, and we do know that makes us unique. So, all right, let's get to interesting quote from Steph Curry. Rob G, we have the sound. This is Steph on a podcast, correct?
Yeah, Steph on sportsillustrated.com and one of their video podcasts. Yep.
All right, here we go.
You don't find me ugly crying on the court for no reason. That raw emotion that came out after Game 6 kind of signaled how much this meant to me, how much this meant to our team. You know, the first one, you don't really know what you're doing until you accomplish it, and then, you know, you're celebrating. The next two were kind of validation for the, you know, trying to remain champions. But after this last 3 years and winning that one, definitely the most special.
All right, so keeping things in that wheelhouse, would you rather have this ring taken away or the two you won during the Kevin Durant era?
No, I want this one. No, give me this one all day, every day.
All right. What do you think, Rob?
I think it's bogus. I get it. Why he's saying it, because he won the finals MVP, even though you don't put much stock in it. So that was something for him. And I think that's probably why he says it. But Steph, if you take those two away, you're not a top 10 or 15 player that everybody's talking about. You're not considered that the winner that you would have, because there would have been a big gap in between you winning that one where the first one where there was all these players hurt.
7 years. Yep.
Yeah, you know, it would have been
7 years.
Chris, it would have been a long stretch of not winning. And then we did see you when, you know, other guys weren't out and you didn't make the playoffs. So I don't know how you would want two and not three. And maybe because, you know, Durant was obviously the guy, and maybe Steph's team by name, but not by ability on the court. And maybe he second-guessed that he should have ever invited Kevin Durant, because he could have, at that point, Chris had power to say, nah, let's not bring him on board. Let's just stay with where we are. But he was coming off a choke job to LeBron James. And without Kevin Durant, who knows? LeBron James's, Chris, legacy could be totally different if you add two more championships to his, you know, total and take two losses off. You know, like it's major.
It'd be 6-4 instead of 4-6.
Am I right? Wouldn't that be a big difference?
Finals. If he had 6 and he's gonna have, you know, these longevity records, then his argument over Jordan would be much stronger. There's no doubt about that.
Much stronger. I'm not saying it automatically.
And
puts
it may
him
have
over.
been a three-peat,
right?
Which
something
Jordan
that would have been,
of course.
Right, but that's
LeBron
something that puts him in rarefied air, because we talk about it because it hasn't happened often.
Right.
So I don't know. I think Steph's crazy.
I understand it too, and I think you do. And you, Rob, wouldn't you? Do you have a problem with him saying that's the most important one or most meaningful one? Because we both admit that all championships are not created equal. So do you have a problem with that?
Yeah, because I don't think he would feel that way if somebody else was the MVP. I really don't.
Well, that's irrelevant because he won MVP. So that's
no. But I'm just saying that's why it's really important to him. I'm just
that's fine. But my point is, do you understand him saying this? Like, do you have a problem with him saying this finals means more?
Yes.
Than the other three. Because go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just don't believe that it's just the finals. It's the finals MVP that he won. That's what he's saying, and that's why it validated him, whether he wanted to admit it or not, or other people didn't want to admit that he didn't, because he had never won a finals MVP. I'm saying to you right here and right now, I don't know, Chris. I'm just guessing off the top off my feel. I don't know what he's thinking. I'm not even going to sit here and act like it. But I don't believe he would have that same conversation if he wasn't the finals MVP.
Because you feel like, I believe you said it, I think, LeBron's championship in Cleveland was worth more than the two in Miami. Would you agree with that? I think you said that in the past.
Only because of he had to stack his team, and I think the one in Cleveland didn't feel like that. The one in Miami, he was the one who went on stage and said, not two, not three. He really believed, Chris, when he said that they would win all these championships because they had put together a stacked team. Then, not only do they not, like they won two, But I think if you look at that move and what happened, losing to an inferior Dallas team and then not being able to three-peat despite going to 4 straight NBA finals, which was to be expected, but people would be disappointed at that. And I think that's why LeBron going there to Cleveland felt a little better vindication, because he didn't have as much of a stacked deck as he had before.
Well, I think you said it. I think that's why Steph feels that this championship was more meaningful to him than the 2 with Kevin Durant. Because we all know that the 2 with Kevin Durant, the deck was stacked. You've said it yourself. LeBron created MySpace, Durant created Facebook with the Warriors. And that's true.
That's a good
And
line.
so I think a big part of it is that the championships with Durant were just playing easier. I mean, whenever you overcome a bigger challenge in any situation, I think it means more to you than if it's easier. Doesn't mean the easy ones don't have some value. It means something to you. But if you really have to, you just give it your all, and it required your all for you to win that title. I think with most people, that's going to mean more than one that quite frankly was pretty easy because your team was so stacked. So I think there's that. I think you are right. I think the finals MVP, whether it meant, and I do think it meant a lot to Steph, I think in part because, one, you just won it. I mean, you're a competitor. We all like individual accolades, but also the roar, all the talk about he hasn't won a finals MVP. It was almost like in some people's eyes, he hadn't won a championship because he hadn't won the MVP. And I think that understandably made it more important for him to win it. And you heard his teammates, Andre Iguodala and, guys, they were talking about it on the court, literally right after they won the championship. That's what people were saying on the court to Steph. He was saying it. So that all conspired to make it mean what it did. The only issue I have with, so I'm fine with Steph saying it. I think you're right. He clearly wouldn't be top 10 or even in a discussion like that, right? With just 2 rings. I do think he could be top 15 though, because the only other small player to lead a team to 2 championships is Isaiah Thomas, who's arguably, on the periphery around there of that top 15. And Steph's just put up better numbers in terms of scoring, not assists. And then he's got to change the game, thing to his name too. So, and the back-to-back MVPs. So I do think with just 2 rings, when most people don't expect, most small point guards, no matter how great they are, Chris Paul, Kyrie Irving, Steve Nash, they don't lead teams to championships, let alone multiple ones. And so I do think he could be top 15, but no, he wouldn't be top 10. And that's the one problem you might have with the comment is that it's a ring count today, right? Even if LeBron were to say, man, I think LeBron would agree. I don't know if he'd say it publicly, Rob, but I think he'd agree that Cleveland championship is definitely the biggest of his career. But if he had to say, would I give up that 1 or the 2 in Miami?
Or the 2 in Miami,
right?
I say no.
The ring count, right? It's the ring count era. So instead of having 3, because if you take away the Cleveland one, right, was the question. Instead of having 3, he'd only have 2. Or instead of having 4, he'd only have 3. Either way, he's not even really in the discussion with Jordan with just 3. Steph, instead of having 3, he's got 4, but he'd have 3 with the Durant rings or 2 without it, right? So
yeah,
the ring count element hurts, but